Hello again, and welcome back to Educator.com's Advanced PHP with MySQL course. In today's lesson, we're going to be continuing our discussion of databases by getting to learn more about the details of the MySQL database system. Specifically, we're going to be talking about what MySQL is. It's a relational database management system. We're going to talk about some of the properties and features of MySQL. We're going to talk about a program that comes with a MySQL distribution called the MySQL Monitor, which is a way of connecting to a MySQL database and issuing commands, SQL commands on it. We're going to go over the steps that it takes to connect to a MySQL server, and then we're going to show how to be able to do that using this MySQL Monitor program we're talking about. And then we're going to learn about the grant command, which is a way to create users on a MySQL server. And basically users are means of the database restricting access to particular parts of the database. So we're going to learn about how to create users using the grant command, and then we're going to walk through the setup of a user account for our PHP scripts, so that our PHP scripts will be able to access our stored database. And then we're going to go over a required homework, and it's a little bit different from our usual homework. It's going to be a required homework because the steps that you'll be going through, you'll need to go through these steps in order to set up your MySQL database, so that when we continue application or web application development, you'll be able to have connect to a database that's properly set up. So what is MySQL? Well, it's an open source relational database management system. So at the back end, it's a relational database, and basically what it does is because it's a relational database management system, it provides some features and an interface on top of the database in order to properly use it. It's commonly used with PHP applications. That's why probably one of the reasons why you're taking this course is PHP and MySQL are used together very often. One of the things about MySQL is that, like most relational database management systems, it operates using a client-server model. Basically, the database runs as sort of a server, and then you have clients that connect to that server and then issue commands. Basically, what MySQL does is it contains multiple databases. A MySQL installation can contain multiple databases, each of which can contain multiple tables. And we learned about tables in our last lesson, and that's the way to store data in a relational database. Well, basically, a MySQL server can have multiple databases. For example, you might have a couple of different web projects, and you might create a different database, which is just sort of a logical structure for a bunch of tables, which might contain multiple tables. So you can have multiple databases with multiple tables, each related to different projects, and each of the tables containing sorts of different information. The one thing you'll notice is that I've actually been referring to it as, in a way, as a MySQL server. Because it runs in this client-server model, you'll typically hear the terms MySQL database and MySQL server sort of used interchangeably, and that's what we're going to be using in this course. So sometimes I'll refer to it as a server, sometimes as a database. But essentially when I say that, I'm just referring to the MySQL relational database management system as a whole. So when you're connecting to a MySQL database, you're actually connecting to this database management system that runs as a server that gives you access to the relational database. One of the features that MySQL provides is it provides a user privilege system, which basically controls access to that MySQL server. It allows you to set up basically permissions for different users, user accounts to restrict access to certain databases, to certain tables. For example, you could set it up so that a particular user can only access one particular database. That's something that's might be common on a web hosting. If you've hosted on a web host before, you might only have access to a specific database. So when you connect, they might tell you that when you connect to a MySQL server, which we're going to learn more about in this lesson, that you have to use a particular database set up for your account. And it's basically a way to just restrict access to the database, and then also to different operations on the database. For example, you might create a user account that can only basically run searches on the database, run queries on the database, whereas another user account might be able to actually add information to the database. When MySQL is first installed, and is the case in the XAMPP installation, it contains a root user account, and it contains that account with no password initially. And what that allows you to do is to initially log in to the server and then create additional user accounts. And then basically what you do is you build up the security of the system from there. what we're going to be doing is logging in as the root user in order to create our PHP user account, which is an account that we're going to give privileges to so that we can basically use that account to access our MySQL database from our PHP scripts.